Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Virtual Office Hours, episode number 10 in our fall 2015 season. Abby Blakeney, our producer, as usual, behind the camera. My name is John Fia. I have the Founding Fathers with me. Still no comments on the George Washington bobblehead. I'm getting to think no one's watching these things. So please, someone at least let me know you're alive out there and comment on the fact that I replaced the George Washington Pez dispenser with the George Washington bobblehead. Anyway, we are talking about this notion that America has always seen itself as a Christian nation. And a lot of what we're talking about is coming from my book, Was America Founded as a Christian Nation? A Historical Introduction. And we are hoping that the second edition of this book will be out in sometime this summer. So we're revisiting this topic. Now, when we say, just to sort of review a little bit from the last several episodes, or the whole season really, when we say that, Americans have always seen themselves as living in a Christian nation, that is a historical statement. We're not necessarily saying that they're right to believe that they live in a Christian nation, or somehow they're reflecting the view of the Founding Fathers or the Constitution or the founding era. But it does appear that throughout much of American history, well through the 60s and 70s, the majority of Americans believed that they were living in a Christian nation of one kind or another. So what we have been trying to do here all semester, for the fall at least, is to trace some of those ideas and how people see themselves as living in a Christian nation, a Christian United States. Now, we are moving our way through the 20th century, and in this episode, episode 10, we want to discuss Protestants. Actually, 10 and 11, we'll talk about Protestants in the mid-century. And today I want to talk about one of the more conservative brands of Protestantism, known as the Neo-Evangelicals. Now, we've talked a little bit about the fundamentalists here and the modernists and their quest for a Christian nation. But roughly after the Scopes trial and after the embarrassment of fundamentalism in the Scopes trial, and after the fundamentalists lose control of the Protestant denominations in the United States, Protestants, evangelicals, or fundamentalists, if you will, sort of go into, I wouldn't say hiding, but they form their own subcultures. And this has been the argument made by historians, Joel Carpenter especially, in his book Revive Us Again. Now, in the 1940s and 50s, evangelicals, fundamentalists, in other words, come out of hiding. And many of them they break out of their subculture. And many of them want to engage the larger nation, engage the larger culture in a variety of areas, whether it be intellectually, theologically, politically. And those former fundamentalists, who really in many ways reject the label fundamentalism because it carries so many sort of militant, anti-intellectual qualities, especially after the Scopes trial. They want to call themselves evangelicals again. And new evangelicals, they describe themselves, and thus we often refer to them as neo or new evangelicals. Now, evangelicals they want to engage culture. They want to come out of their separatist enclaves that they existed in the fundamentalist movement. Many of them were younger, and thus wanting a greater engagement with modern life. But at the same time, they continued to uphold the idea that the United States was a Christian nation. And you see this in a variety of different ways. For example, when the National Association of Evangelicals is founded in the 1940s, in the early 1940s, John Harold Ockenga, the founder of the NAE, National Association of Evangelicals, preaches a sermon, Christ for America, it's titled. And in there he makes a clear argument that the United States is indeed a Christian country. Similarly, very early on, the National Association of Evangelicals, this umbrella organization for the so-called Neo-Evangelicals, go back to the old idea of trying to get a Christian amendment attached to the United States Constitution. And they make some serious efforts in doing this in 1947 and then again in 1954. Some of you remember our episode about the NRA, the National Reform Association, back in the late 19th century. and their attempts to do this. They also are going to want to defend the idea of a Christian West, or a Judeo-Christian West, Western civilization being rooted in Judeo-Christian ideas. So they still want to fight against whatever inroads of secularism may emerge or may come about. And then finally, the New Evangelicals want to promote evangelism. And this is where their great hero, Billy Graham, comes in, who really wants to not only save people, get them prepared for eternity in heaven, but he also believes if more and more Christians, more and more people can become Christians, it will strengthen the Christian character of the country. So through all of these things, the Neo-Evangelicals, again, they're rejecting a lot of the extremes of their fundamentalist fathers and forebearers, but at the same time, they're still embracing this vision for what America should be, a deeply Christian, if not Protestant, country. In the next episode, we will talk about the other Protestants in America, the mainline Protestants. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.